Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Wakakadash. The honors to the elders who push his word truthfully and sincerely in the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Wakakadash. Shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. In the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Wakakadash. Say shalom to you Akim out there. And this is a recent news article from MSN.com, USA News, and World Report, published by Paul D. Schenkman 1 hour ago, and it reads, China signals military response as U.S. and Japan accelerate defense plans. Right, and this is a day before yesterday. I did a video on United States is willingly to use a military response if Japan comes under any enemy threat from China and other countries, mostly mainly China, because United States and Japan, they declare their strong economic ties, strong security, military stability between both of the nations of the United States and Japan. So I want to, add a note to that, and I'm gonna read this again. It says China signals military response as U.S. Japan accelerate defense plans. China on Thursday signaled plans to retaliate militarily to new security initiatives between Japan and the United States, warning that the allies' accelerating cooperation will create new threats from themselves and the region. And as you see a photo right here, it says soldiers standing guard as a preparedness enhancement drill simulation the defense against Beijing military intrusions ahead of the Lunar New Year in Kaohsiung city of Taiwan on Wednesday, January the 11th, 2023. China renewed its threats Wednesday to attack Taiwan and warned that foreign politicians, if I pronounce that right, who enact with the self-governed island are playing with fire. It says, citing a Chinese military analyst, the English language Global Times newspaper warned that if Japan continues to dramatically increase the military spending and new security postures coordinates with the United States, particularly with regards to Taiwan, then the Chinese military is sure to take countermeasures, including holding more exercises and patrolling international waters and airspaces around Japan. And it's citing another analyst who said the new partnership actually puts Taiwan in a riskier and more superficial position in the region. And it says, though not a direct mouthpiece of the Chinese Communist Party, the paper is aligned with its views. U.S. officials and analysts believe it often publishes what officials in Beijing choose not to say publicly. It says the new threats piling on to more subtle public warnings from Chinese military officials coming as U.S. and Japan this week began unveiling results of a new initiative to better prepare to confront Beijing militarily. It says, especially in the light of China's stating ambitious to seize control of the independent nation of Taiwan, which considers a breakaway province. It says Japan top diplomatic and military officials began Wednesday meet in Washington D.C. with their American counterpart ahead of a high-profile visit by Prime Minister Fumo Kishida to the White House on Friday, which is tomorrow, known as the 2+2 Summit. In group in a press conference at the State Department late in the day praises Japan decision to begin breaking from its historical Pacific stance codified in the institute since the World War II and investing in military to look more those of highly developed nations as well as prepared to take on the increasing blockade challenges present by the region powers, namely China and North Korea. It says Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, as an example, announced that the U.S. would reconfigure the 12 Marine Regiment currently in Okinawa of Japan to make it more lethal and more agile, more capable in the coming years. The news represented the latest examples on an ongoing plan the U.S. has reportedly considered in recent weeks to deter but not provoke China, which administrations refer to as America's main pacing challenge in the region. It says the news follow a massive change in Japan's defense footing under its new administrations, including a radical new security strategy that invests 2% of its gross domestic products in the military over the next 5 years, Medicine Salaki, with a particular focus on developing weapons and a tactical appropriated for a conflict with China. Wang Wenbin, a spokesperson for China foreign minister using carefully crafted language, warned a press conference early Thursday that any new forms of cooperation between the two powers should not harm the interests of any other countries in the Indo-Pacific or regions. Currently, peace and stability. Analysts similarly expected that the new initiative, orchestrated by Washington and Tokyo, will predictably enrage Beijing and elicit a dramatic response. Any increase in Japan's military strength, those will be met with concerns from its neighbor, but fundamentally changing the security status quo in the region, with China and North Korea being the most upset. Private intelligence from Form RANE concluded in a new analyst note published after Wednesday's announcement. However, it added that the initiative's Chinese retaliation would likely begin economically. Attempts to isolate China's massive market from Japan's products. It noted, though, that Japan is currently only country in the world that formally giving up the right to declare war, and that a change in a footing would both address and contribute to a changing security dynamic in the region. It says by increasing its defense budget and military capability, Japan is not necessarily preparing for imminent war, but rather ensure it can be more proactive in forcing maritime territories against North Korean and Chinese threats without needing the United States signing off on every action like every other normal sovereignty nation it writes. Up until recently, China and North Korea were not threats to Japanese foreign sovereignty, as China was not developing enough and North Korea was primarily concerned with the potential of a peninsular conflict. current Japanese leader is able to use the increasing threats from North Korea and the potential from Tokyo to be pulled into a Taiwanese conflict to justify the increase in defense spending, according to the RANE. Rather, those threats did not exist before. This is the book of Matthew 24, verse 6. Yahweh Shai speaking in red letter. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end shall not be yet. Matthew 24, verse 7. Red letter, Yahweh Shai speaking. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. And this is Joel 3, verse 9. Start at 9. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this amongst the Gentiles, which is the other nations. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty man. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Right, so, as you know, I recently before I did a video yesterday pertaining to, the nuclear capability and security assurance stability between U.S. and Japan is highly increasing. The allegiance between both of them is the alliance is definitely increasing even more larger than before. Now you have a recent news article coming out. That's why the scripture says you should hear of wars and rumors of wars. Sometimes these news articles might not be 100% accurate or 100% true. That's why they call it wars and rumors of wars. But definitely for sure, we've definitely been seeing the increase in tensions between these different nations and different kingdoms. Now back to what I was saying. Now you have this recent news article that I just brought out and just got the reading of China is gonna send a new clear message and more new measurements and new countermeasurements to counter the threats from Japan, South Korea, and the United States. Mostly United States and Japan. China sending more strong potential new or more threats and new military countermeasures to counter the military stability and the military cooperation between Japan and the United States, as they potentially going to increase their new more threats towards those two nations. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this amongst the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty man. Let all the men of war draw near. And that's what we're seeing, just like that Russia-Ukraine situation going on. It was a video from Worldstar Hip Hop I saw. It was like in the middle of the battlefield. It was these Ukraine soldiers and the Russian soldiers came to the hiding spot of the Ukrainian soldiers. And the guy just told him, drop your weapon. And he grabbed his weapon. I mean, they showed it on camera. I mean, he shot and killed both of them, So that lets you know the war, that war is going on. You got wars are going on in the world today, So that's why we're seeing nations are rising against nations and kingdom against kingdoms. Those are two different, even though they both so-called Caucasian from these European countries. But you're seeing an increase of, he's Russian And the other one's Ukraine. You got the Ukraine soldiers and the Russian soldiers. They look at themselves as two different nation of people. You know, that's why the scripture says nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. And that's what we're seeing around the world. For an example, the Palestinians versus the Israelis. That's a different nation going against another different nation. So that's why you're seeing a rise of increases of these nations and kingdom against kingdoms, and the hostility building up over there in the South China Sea. With China versus Taiwan, China versus Japan and the United States, North Korea versus America, Japan, and China. So that's why we're seeing all these things are increasing and building up more and more and more. And so with that, hopefully this lesson was edifying. The news article that I just recently brought out from U.S. News and World Report, from USA News Today, from MSN.com, and published by Paulie D. Shankman as of January the 12th, 2023. And as you see, China signals military response at U.S. Japan accelerate defense plans. So yeah, things are definitely heating up. Of the wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And that Joel 3 and 9 is definitely coming into play. Wake up the mighty man of these nations. And that's what we are seeing. And other than that, hopefully this was edifying. And I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Wakakadash. Double honors to the elders for preaching this word truthfully and sincerely. In the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Wakakadash. And Shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. In the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Wakakadash. And until next time, I will say Shalom.